Joining us now, no fake news here, our good friend from the 9th District of Virginia, from Salem, Virginia. That's where he's from. And one of my favorite breakfast place down there. Can't think of the name of it, but I've done my show there actually 3 times since he introduced me to it. Congressman, 9th District Republican, Morgan Griffith. Congressman, good to have you.
Good to be with you again.
What is that coffee shop that I do my show in down there?
Mill Mountain Coffee and Tea.
That's right. Mill Mountain Coffee and Tea right on Main Street in Salem, right?
Yes, sir.
A great place. And they have a little room there, and I did my show. And that was actually the last time I did my show there, Congressman, was Super Tuesday, March 1st, 2016. We predicted Trump was going to win. And I remember being there that day, and the owners and everybody were coming. It was a lot of fun. So thanks for hooking me up with them. All right, Congressman, there's a lot of fake news out there. I just went over the story in the Hill that I couldn't believe it. It's so ridiculous. But having said that, Comey fired, timing, investigations, Democrats calling it a constitutional crisis, Mark Warner setting his hair on fire. What do you make of the whole thing?
Well, it is interesting, and the Democrats wanted him gone, and then he's gone, and the Democrats are all been out of shape. It just goes to prove that you can't make these folks happy. They're looking for anything to criticize the president on if they can. So let's look at the facts. We had a situation where Comey, who everybody I've talked to who's ever worked with him says he's a great guy, okay? Mm-hmm. So we give him the benefit of the doubt on all kinds of things. But no question, and he is the police chief when you're the director of the FBI. That means you're the national police chief, more or less. The police chief stepped into the Commonwealth's attorney's role, if you put it on a Virginia level, the prosecutor's role, and acted both as the chief law enforcement person and as the attorney general last summer. Not a good decision. Created lots of controversy, lots of upset. Doesn't matter which side of the issue you're on. Lots of upset, lots of controversy, and a very unusual move by the director of the FBI. Mm-hmm. Should have gone to some deputy in the Justice Department because Loretta Lynch had created a conflict for herself and had an ethics issue. Mm-hmm. I get it, but it wasn't his job to get her out of that mess. It was some deputy attorney general that should have done that. Mm-hmm. That's step one. Mm-hmm. Step two, he comes back in October and issues a letter, and then a counter letter a week or so later, which many felt affected the election. Again, doesn't matter which side you're on. Huge controversy, all kinds of upset, all kinds of people thinking, what is this guy doing? Is he capable of running the FBI?
Right.
Then we flash forward to the last couple of weeks, and information comes out just before President Trump says, okay, you're fired. Information comes out that the head guy, under oath, in front of a congressional investigating committee, gave information which was greatly overstated. Again, giving him all the benefits of the doubt. There's no improper motive or anything like that. Well, stop and think about it. He's the chief law enforcement officer, the head of the FBI. He knows that this is exactly what they want to ask him about, what's going on with the investigation and what's going on with, all the emails that were sent to Weiner's computer, whether through Huma Ahmadine or not. And he doesn't get the facts right. And it's not like he said there were 15 emails and there were 14 emails. He said there were hundreds and thousands of emails that got from Hillary Clinton's email server to Anthony Weiner. Then somebody at the FBI says, oh, wait a minute, that's not right. And they come out and have to correct the testimony of the head of the FBI a week later saying that, he overstated it. And he overstated it apparently by hundreds or thousands because apparently it was, 14 to maybe 40, and that's just a guess. And I'm not under oath, and I'm not the head of the FBI, and I'm not giving information to a congressional investigating committee. Mm-hmm. But apparently he way overstated it. That's strike three. And that would give any president, any CEO, cause to believe if they had the head of one of their important divisions, particularly one with law enforcement, that the credibility of the entire agency has now been affected. And as a former criminal defense attorney, I can tell you that would shake right down to the very roots, because every case that's now coming in, how do we know that's right?
Right.
Your director gave information under oath that wasn't accurate. How do we know your information is accurate?
Right.
That's what I'd be asking.
Right. So it's just an example of either he didn't have his facts or he misstated, but this is a continuing saga. And I agree with you, Congressman. You go back to that spring, whatever he did, that press conference in the spring. I mean, I was shocked at that, and I'm a layman in your business, but I was even shocked at it because I thought that just as a journalist, I thought his press conference should have been 20 seconds. Hi, I'm James Comey. I'm the FBI Director of the United States of America. We've concluded our investigation on the Hillary Clinton emails. I've turned all of the evidence over to the Department of Justice and the Attorney General and her deputy. They'll make a decision going forward based on that evidence. Have a good day. I'm going to go now and do my job. That's it.
That is the proper role.
Right?
That is the proper role of a law enforcement official.
Exactly.
That is correct.
Instead, he played investigator, prosecutor, judge, jury, and chief and director of communications all at the same time. And I think this thing started to unravel. But look, I mean, the president has a right to fire whoever he pleases. And this isn't going to impede any investigations. They're still going to go on. Coupled with the fact that we've got Mark Warner and Senator Burr in the U.S. Senate. They have their own investigation. But let me just ask you this. 11 months of investigations, and there's no evidence of any wrongdoing with Trump, collusion, Russia. Don't you think after 11 months there'd be something? You'd have, I mean, Mark Warner, who I respect, keeps saying, well, we're going to follow the facts. Well, so far there are no facts to follow. When do you drop the sword?
Well, and it depends. If you're trying to get the information and you've been stonewalled, that's one thing. And obviously Trump didn't have access to Stonewall until January 20th.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to say that at the beginning of this investigation he had any input at all. But, as long as they're getting the information, and I'm not on one of the committees doing that investigation, but as long as they're getting the information that's coming in, they should be able to conclude it. However, when you have investigations going on and you have people that won't give you information that you want, that's another question. For example, we have some real questions about who authorized in the Obama administration the payment for Obamacare cost-sharing program, one of the cost-sharing programs with Obamacare. They were taking the money out of an IRS account without authority from Congress, and the Obama administration wouldn't give us that information. As we get into the Trump administration, we're hoping they'll give us that information. But the bottom line is they refused several subpoenas from the Energy and Commerce Oversight Committee, and we're trying to investigate that. So that may take us a little bit longer than it ought to. But that's because we had an administration that wouldn't give us the information. No one has made that allegation in this case. No one has said they won't give us the information. They're just continuing to investigate. But I'm not going to say that they shouldn't continue to investigate, but you would actually think the Democrats would be happy because they got rid of Comey, who they had all criticized, or many of them had criticized. And now they've got a guy whose wife ran for the state Senate as the interim director of the FBI, and she ran for the state Senate in Virginia as a Democrat and is a good friend of Terry McAuliffe and others. So the Democrats gained an ally by this. If Donald Trump was trying to do something to help himself, he wouldn't have gotten rid of Comey, because now until they nominate and confirm a new director in the Senate, they've got a known Democrat who has ties to the Clintons and to Terry McAuliffe, or to the Clintons through Terry McAuliffe. And so, to me, this is some kind of interesting show the Democrats are putting on, and they're just trying to confuse the American people.
So right now, President Trump, as related to the FBI, is worse off.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question about it.
Worse off. Congressman, let's get to AUMF keeping me up at night. We got General McMaster, H.R. McMaster. We're making a recommendation. They want to reengage this war in Afghanistan. I'm opposed to the war. Everybody knows that, so I don't have to do any narrative on it. But here's the thing. No AUMF, no authorization of military force. Don't you think unequivocally, if we are going to reengage in Afghanistan with another, McMaster wants, 2,500 troops, I've heard, for McMaster's war. Doesn't the president have to come to Congress to get authorization for this?
Well, I believe that he does. He needs to show us what the clearly stated goals are so that we can make a decision. I agree with Tim Kaine. I always have. You can't use an authorization of the use of military force and then say it's in effect forever. And, you know, this has gone on since 2001 and 2002. With the current authorization of the use of military force, it needs to be reexamined. Most of Congress no longer, members who were there then are not there now. Mm-hmm. There's been a huge turnover in Congress, even in the Senate, but certainly in the U.S. House.
Right.
And we need new eyes on it. Would I vote to approve? You and I might disagree on that. I might very well vote to approve. But I want to have the facts. I want to take a look at what the stated goals are so that we know we're not getting into an open-ended war. And I want to make sure that the restrictions are there and that there is a period of time before the president has to come back and ask for another AUMF, because we can't have these open-ended arguing that something that happened. I was first elected in 2010, started serving in 2011. That means the AUMF we're operating on now was done 10 years before I ever got to Congress. And Congress is the one that gets to make a declaration of war and decide whether or not our military forces are engaged. The president does the troop movements. He is the commander-in-chief, but we are the ones that authorize it, and it needs to come back to Congress.
Absolutely, and I hope you guys are going to fight for that, because the fact that your leader of your caucus, the Speaker of the House, has shown no interest in getting this done is very troubling to many people. So hopefully you'll continue to fight for this. Congressman, let's get to health care. Aetna pulled out of Virginia. Now they're saying 2018, they're out of everything. They're gone. This Obamacare, as we know it, melting away. If you live in Iowa, you can't get insurance on the exchanges. I was in favor of you passing the bill that you got through. I think you got to do something. But now it's in the Senate. We've got Democratic senators saying, we're not even going to act on it until 2018. If it's imploding, why would they just not act on it? I mean, I don't understand what's going on in there. Can you help us with that?
Well, I'm not sure I can help you understand the Senate or the senators. They do a lot of goofy things. But that being said, I think it's all part of the same campaign we started this discussion on. That's, anything that Trump does clearly must be wrong, and anything that's happening clearly must be wrong. And they are actually making, some of them are, and I'm not talking about senators, but Democrats are making the absurd claim that the reason that Obamacare is collapsing is because of the Republicans and the Trump administration. Are you kidding me? Aetna, if you look at their statement, says between 2014 when they got in and now they've lost about $700 million in Virginia. They're not talking about nationally, in Virginia. And they expect that they're going to lose $200 million this year. We had nothing to do with that. We didn't create that. That was all the Obama administration. And a number of folks have said to us, well, why don't you help them fix it? And the bottom line is it can't be fixed. It's completely a program that's completely flawed from the get-go. But early on, when we might have been able to make some tweaks and help, Democrats didn't want our help. They thought this was, the greatest thing since sliced bread, and that they had something that would bring them the electorate for the next 50 years, and that this was just going to be wonderful. It's not wonderful. It's flawed. It doesn't function the way they planned for it to. And so we have to do something because it is collapsing. We can't say to the people in Iowa and 16 counties in Tennessee, too bad you don't get insurance. We have to have a plan for the nation, and we believe that our plan is much better. If the Senate comes up with something good, that's great. Doesn't have to be this plan, but for the American people, we have to do something. And the fact that the senators in the Democrat senators just want to block and they don't want to see any program come forward shows we have to get rid of the crazy 60 vote rule, and it shows that they're completely out of touch. The American people know this system is broken. They want something done.
Well, that's why they elected Trump. I mean, you just summed it up right there. They know the system is defunct. They want something to fix it. Trump was the conduit for that. That's why he won. But I want to get back, just so everybody in my audience is clear and your audience is clear. The 60-vote cloture rule in the Senate is a man-made rule. Is it true that Mitch McConnell could just say tomorrow, you know what, we got too many issues here. This is not working for us. I'm going to get rid of it. Doesn't he have the power to do that?
51 senators can change the rules at any time.
51.
Yes, sir.
What if it's 50-50? Can Pence break the tie?
Real interesting question there. I don't know, but I would submit that the vice president could break the tie.
Right, because he presides over the Senate. I mean, he presides over the Senate and he presides over the rules. So they would need 50 Republican senators out of 52 to say, yeah, this in a time of change, this probably isn't a good idea. And if you didn't get 50 senators, certainly the president could get behind it. But then they would have to go down one way or the other. So they would either vote for it or not. But see, they'll never bring the vote up because they don't want to be accountable for it. And so the beat goes on. It's so frustrating for people. It really is frustrating because I would like to see them have the vote and let's see how many Republican senators, because all the Dems would vote no, just like I would if I were them. I mean, that's obviously they're going to vote no, but I would like to see how many of the 52 Republicans we have that would vote no and say, no, I'm for stalling, I'm for blocking, I'm for getting nothing done. That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Well, that's turned to be interesting. I'd like to see us get rid of that rule anyway, but I'd like to see us, being able to get some things done for the American people and moving forward, and that's the primary motivation.
That's right. That's the objective, and very well said. We're out of time. I want to thank Congressman Morgan Griffith for being with us. Now, sir, you haven't been on in a few weeks, so we've missed you being on, and every so often we have to get our Griffith fix on our show. So I got to do a better job of scheduling you in. But as always, sir, appreciate your candor. It's been a busy
time, and I know you've tried a couple times, and we've just been in the middle of a lot of important things in D.C.
I know, and I appreciate it. But I am persistent. You have to admit that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Morgan Griffith, thanks for being with us. More information, griffith.house.gov.